welcome back to Goal Accomplishment Made Easy, the podcast based on Goal Accomplishment Made Easy, the app. Do not mind my voice, I'm sick. But today, we are talking about how long it takes to accomplish a goal and how to know if you are on schedule. Those two things are what almost every goal app ignores completely, okay? And those questions are: how long will this goal actually take given the hours that I have? And as weeks go by, am I on schedule to finish by the date I'm committed to? Most apps ask you to set a deadline without helping you determine whether the deadline is realistic. And most apps track your activity without telling you whether the activity is on pace for the deadline. The result is that most people discover they are significantly off schedule at the deadline when there's nothing left to do about it, which is crazy. So, here's where most people get the timeline wrong. Most people estimate how long a goal will take based on the scope of work alone. They think about everything that needs to happen and make an estimate. What they systematically underestimate is two things: one, the sequence, and two, the capacity. The sequence matters because some work cannot start until other work is finished. A website cannot launch until the copy is written. The copy cannot be written until the strategy is defined. The strategy can't be defined until the target audience research is done. If you estimate the total work without accounting for what has to happen before other things can begin, you end up with a timeline that assumes everything happens in parallel when much of it actually happens in sequence. Okay? And the capacity matters because the hours available each week for the goal are almost always less than the hours you're planning against. You have a job, you have a family, you have health and rest and all the other things that constitute a life. The goal gets the hours that remain after everything else. So, planning against a generous estimate of those remaining hours is how you end up 3 months behind a deadline that was always unrealistic. So, here is how Goal Accomplishment Made Easy calculates the real timeline. So, we build the timeline from what you actually tell it, not the optimistic assumptions. You tell it what you want to accomplish, when you want it done, and how many hours a week you have. And it takes the real hours you have entered, sequences the work correctly based on what depends on what, and builds a timeline that reflects what is actually achievable given those constraints. If the deadline you entered and the hours you have do not produce a viable plan, the platform will tell you before you start, before you're months in and discovering it at the deadline. And the scope plan that you get includes an out of scope list that defines what will not be a part of this goal, preventing scope expansion from making the deadline progressively less realistic. From there, I will give you a live risk score that helps you track whether you are on pace every single week. That completion percentage is going to tell you how much is done, and the risk score is going to tell you whether the pace of completion is going to produce the outcome by the deadline. Okay? Those are different things and both matter. Deadline compression, which is when the remaining work is more than the remaining time can accommodate, is one of the five categories the risk score that I give you watches continuously. So when it starts developing, you know while there is still time to address it. Okay? You also get a weekly check in, and in that weekly check in, it compares where you are against where the plan we generated for you says you should be by this point and gives you a specific decision about what to change. If you are on pace, keep going. If you're behind, here is specifically what to do to adjust, whether it be your scope or your timeline, your effort, sequencing, yada yada. So, the answer to the question of how long your goal will take to be accomplished is it depends on the scope of work, the hours you have available each week, and the sequence of dependencies in that work. Okay? Goal Accomplishment Made Easy calculates all three and gives you a plan built from their intersection, and then tells you every week whether you are on track to finish what you said you would finish. So you can try it at app.goalaccomplishment.com or download in the App Store and Google Play stores. This is your first time here, I'm Desiree. I am a fractional COO and project manager, and I have been for the past 13 years. And I did this work for organizations. And I took what the organizations hired me to do, which is basically they give me their vision, and I take it and I map out everything that needs to happen by when. And then I help them execute on those things I took what the organizations were paying me to give them, and I put it in the app for the individual, because you could take someone who crushes it at work, you take them out of work and they don't crush it so much in their personal life, because we don't have the same tools that we do at work in our personal lives to hit goals. In our personal lives, to hit goals, we have to-do lists and habit trackers, and those things work for their purposes. But at work, you have something like a sauna, you have a boss, you have someone who sets the things up for you and keeps you accountable, and you have all these things set up to help you succeed. In your personal life, it's just you, your willpower, and the notes app, and that's just not it. So I'm losing my voice, so that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you next time.